Yeah, if I'm going to be camping, this is so backwards. You know, I've been considering it camping out here on the ranch, and then I drive into civilization every day for working. Now I'm going to be camping in the back of the truck in town, randomly wherever I can park, and then coming out to the ranch, and the ranch will be more like home then. It's kind of a strange combination there. This will be it. I'll rest for an hour and then go outside and it'll rain probably. What I'm making is basically a tent frame that will drop into the corner pockets for the stake bed of the truck. So you can drop like a 2x2 or something in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm taking these conduits. This is 1/2-inch conduit. Basic electrical conduit is what it is. You get the idea, it's shiny pipe. It was still not very expensive. It's an 8-foot by 10-foot. Dark on one side, light on the other, so if I have the light side facing out. I don't think I paid retail for any of these. These are expensive. These are professional grade Bosch power tools. But if you look on eBay, you can get them for about half price, and that makes it worth buying. They got the 12-volt battery, which is quite small compared to your bigger tools. That's the whole battery. It's nothing to it. It's a 3-cell lithium pack for 12 volts. You would not take this backpacking, but if you're truck camping, it doesn't take up that much room. And if you were in the Army, you throw 10 of these in the back of the truck with all your backpack, you never really notice it. It's not that much space. I don't remember if it actually came with 2 straps or I lost one, or if it only came with 1 strap, but I had an extra strap, so I just put it together. The bed is basically in one piece, except for the cross pieces. So these are the cross pieces. And the whole thing seems completely backwards. The first time I set it up, it was really confusing. The end legs swing all the way around. Push this down. One end. Same on the other one. You push the end leg all the way around. And the middle leg, there's a pivot there. Stand it up. Works better if you're not jammed into the corner. You open it up, and then the fabric holds it far enough apart. Okay. Once you get that far, so there's just a sewn-in pocket on the end. Slide it through. And the cover can move back and forth a little bit. So what I usually do, I set it on top, and this has been stretched a little bit. So I'll put one on, and just leave the other one on top. Then I go to the other end, do the same thing. If you're going to set this up a bunch, you could actually mark it, you know, right head and foot or something on the pieces so you get them. Usually it's not really critical. Okay, so we stretch this one down. And what we're doing, there's a rubber plastic nub on the end of this piece here. That lines up with the hole on here. Now there's some tension on here. So it takes a little bit of a pull. Makes it nice and taut. That is very comfortable when you're laying on it. It's amazingly comfortable just the way it is without any padding or anything. It's almost like a hammock effect. Okay, you're done. I'm going to use safety glasses because I've got them with me. My gloves on because we're working with metal. This was something I learned in the Navy. I was a metalsmith then on airplanes. A little different, same idea. Anytime I worked with metal, I always wore gloves because you always had that sharp spot. And what you tend to do, because you watch everybody else do it, you drill a hole and you wipe the chips away with your hand. In wood, you can get away with that. It's not a big deal. But if you do it on metal, that'll just slice you up really bad. And you'll be bleeding all over the place. Blood is corrosive to aluminum. So that's also going to hold the free end with my other hand. Hold this so the mark is over. Okay, I'm going to put put the guide mark up, put the mark about even with the edge of the bumper. We'll try not to hit the mirror at the same time. Now I'm going to do these evenly, so a couple hits on each side. Every website I see says you shouldn't use a sledgehammer. I can't imagine they're all selling arbor presses. So I'm not sure what their credibility is. But good, okay. Now I've got the flat spot perpendicular with the line, so that worked out good. That actually looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Later on, I'm going to center a hole in here and just drill it through, and we're going to end up with 4 of these verticals with 1 hole each and 1 horizontal piece with a hole on each end. Okay. There's the ends I flattened. Got them pretty centered. As far as it's not flat on one side. The ones I did last time, I just laid it down on a piece of, actually it was on parking curbs, those concrete strips you run your car into all the time. I just beat them all from one side, and so it was flat to one side and raised on the other, so this looks a lot better. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Alright, what we did, we're 3/4 of an inch from the end in, and we found approximately center. I'm sure that's not exactly center, but it's close enough. We're going to be using 1/4 inch hardware, so I'm going to drill the holes a little bit bigger than 1/4 inch just to make it easier to put together, because if it's a really tight fit, it's a real bear to assemble it. Okay, I'm going to hold it down so it's flat against the wood. And if I was really smart, like the woodworking guys, you would put a piece of tape around the bit at the spot you want to stop at. I'm not going to sweat that too much, but it's a good idea. Okay, that needs a pretty good down pressure, so we're going to need both hands on this one. Okay, once it starts, you can tell it shifts kind of, not moved, but it every time you go through a next notch, you hear the sound change a little bit. Hear that? Okay, just for a check, I know we're not there yet, but I want to get an idea what that feels like when it hits the right size. We are actually almost there, so probably 1 more notch. Okay. That'll be it. Just like that. Now, what we could do is do the backside. In fact, we'll do that anyway. Just a real quick hit. That'll take some of the burr off. If this metal is thick enough, we might be one size on one side of it and a different step on the other side. So if you hit it from both sides just a little bit, that'll get them the same size and deburr it at the same time. And that didn't really do such a good job on deburring, but at least it's the same size now. The gloves always fight you. Good, that'll go through. It's a little bit loose. I don't want to go to the next size because I don't want it too sloppy. 1/2 inch for center. If I was right on, this line probably would have been 1/2 inch. Somewhere I'm not quite right on. Again, not too worried about it. It's actually pretty close. So we'll make a vertical, or horizontal, then a vertical. So we're going to do 3/4 in. Is there. Don't worry, it was right. The camera will make it look wrong. Smiling. Good. I always start slow, see if it's going to creep. That one stayed still pretty good. Doing a lot of down pressure to make it dig better. One, two. probably 3 or 4 there. I can see it's too small, so we'll do a little bit more. That digs in pretty good. That's probably about right. We'll buzz the other side. That deburred a little better. Later on, I'm going to take one of my big drill bits and just do it by hand. That'll clean off that burr. And we're good. I switched to my big drill. Don't have quite enough torque to turn this bit with my little drill that I like so much, so I'll try this one out and see how it does. This is a Bosch 18 volt half-inch drive drill. It's the older style, uses NiCad battery still, but it's got a lot of good power, so yeah, it doesn't even slow it down. Multiple clamps happening there. The orange handle clamps are just helping to hold the level basically vertical. I'm not even going to look at the bubbles on it, but actually from here it is pretty close. That's well within reason. Get them all side by side here. Get some consistency. Okay, 3 out of 4 are really close. I just need to bend this one a little bit more. Oh yeah, we didn't get to 60 on that one. That should be right on. That's pretty dang close. Okay, this is the first test fitting. It's basically where I wanted. It's pretty darn close, which is incredibly encouraging. I need to bend it this way. That should bring this more vertical. That'll bring the top down a little bit. That's hard to do precisely. There's no mark on there that says just a smidge. Do that same bend 16 inches up from the end, and that way I can have them all side by side. I hope the camera got that. Yeah, okay. Little work to be done. Look how easy it is to take off though, huh? Right. Alright, there's some improvements to be made. Okay, I wanted to document this, hopefully it picks up. Okay, so looking at the strut, this is the side piece. This is the top hole, okay? If we come across to the first mark I made, this was 30 inches from the cut end, okay? That's where I'm going to drill my hole perpendicular that will mount the secondary front to backs, okay? Arbitrary, but it's a good starting point. Because I was thinking about down here, but that's way too low. This was the 16-inch mark, but up here I think would do some good. That'll keep the roof from sagging in the middle. If it rains, I don't want to sag because that's where the water will pool. I think that'll work. So we'll use the mark that's already there, and we'll use the guideline and shoot them straight in. I'm not going to flatten this one. It's just going to be as it is and go all the way through. So we'll make it about a 5/16 hole. We'll need longer bolts on this one. Okay, it's 6 p.m. I haven't been doing much the last half an hour, so it's probably a good sign. I've got these secondary pieces in. I think that makes a difference. For this to really work, I'm going to need some kind of gusset to lock it in a little better. Something like that. Alright, so all we got to do is pull these cross struts out. Once the first one's out, the second one practically falls out. And we fold it up, lay it over. Pick that up, shove it in the truck. Like a minute. Okay, that ain't no big deal at all. Okay, 6:30 p.m. on the 7th. This is Monday afternoon. Wanted to get a quick status update here. I got the gussets put in, angle braces, whatever you want to call them. And I'm covering them with pipe insulation just to protect the tarp from the rough edges, because since this is the early prototype, I'm not going to take a lot of time grinding these out smooth, so they're just ragged as all heck. That'll shred the tarp in no time, or faster. And I put it together with self-locking nuts, so in theory that shouldn't rattle loose. We'll see. Basically, it's pretty solid though, and then right now I got this bungee or the cargo strap across just to hold it down flat while I was fitting the tarp, and then I remembered to go back and do the tape up real quick. So I just wanted to get a shot of that later on if this ever gets seen. I don't want you to think I held it together with the duct tape. That was tempting, but I actually did kind of not a bad job on this. So see if it works. At the moment, nothing's holding it down to the truck except for the strap. Okay, there's some obvious limitations here, and I don't care. I'm going to leave it like this for a couple of reasons. One, because I'm tired of messing with it. Two, I think it'll be good enough for a test. And three, I am going to be in town, so I do have some money. If I decide to buy, like for instance, more bungees, I can do that. I'm not going to drive like this. I'm going to set it up for this way tonight, and I think I'm going to sleep in it tonight, and then evaluate, and then go from there. But I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to use the clamps because they work. Keep it simple, and then go from there. So I got a rope that ties in to the tie down point on each side, and it went through each eyelet to kind of cinch it down, kind of covered wagon style, right? And then there's the red strap, still goes from the tie down to the center and back down again. That just keeps the whole thing stable. I'm going to leave the cargo strap on there, And then I should be able to drive with the hoops up and not worry about it. It ain't gonna go anywhere. Because if I take the tarp completely off, it's not gonna catch any wind, all right? And all I gotta do to get the tarp off, take the clamps off, undo some bungees, untie that rope on the front, and it should just come right off. It's not long enough, so I'm gonna have a couple inches of bed visible, right? And the same on the front, there's a gap. Because the pockets are not at the corners. That's the deal. This is just to get me through the week to see what it's like to live in town, right? Can I find a decent parking spot? Can I sleep for a night without getting people messing with me all the time? That's as far as this is meant to go. You know, when I'm parked, I'll have the army cot in the back. Everything else will be in the front. I'll just keep my keys with